Good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Heather Hennessy, and I'm coming in quiet, just like I talked about last week. I assume that if you are tuning into me, you have a very tiny baby in your presence. Why is that? Because I am a coach who specializes in working with over 40 brand new mothers who are the family breadwinner. So my clients are women who are over the age of 40 and who are either pregnant with or have just had their first child and who work full time and provide most of the income for the family. So if that is you, a special welcome. And I come in quiet. Some people like to start off with a, loud hello, big warm welcome. I feel all of that warmth on the inside, but I am not going to shout at you. Just in case you do have a tiny baby sleeping nearby, I want that baby to stay asleep just as much as you do. So, today is my final Facebook Live of February 2020, where I am concluding my top 40 reasons to love being an over 40 new mom. So I started this list at the beginning of February, and I have worked all month to give you 40 things to think about as you undertake motherhood over the age of 40. I think that this list is a really valuable place to start. If you're adjusting to motherhood, it's an adjustment. And as we've talked about a couple times already, our brains hate making adjustments. It's part of how we're hardwired as human beings. Our brains like to be efficient. They like to do the same thing over and over again. They like to do things that we're really good at. Our brains love to put things on repeat in the back of our brain where you automate things. This is where your brain puts 95% of what you're doing. 95%. And it's very happy about this. Your brain thinks that that is a very efficient way for you to go through life. Your brain thinks that that is optimizing your usage of calories. Your brain uses a lot of calories when you have to think about things. So your brain wants to use as few calories as possible. This is a survival mechanism to keep you from starving. So, what's the practical outcome of that for us? When we become new mothers, everything in life changes. I mean, and for me, literally, it was everything. I felt like I became a new person. I felt like I approached my job differently. I approached my health differently. I everything. And because everything's changing so rapidly, your brain is kind of having a hissy fit on you. It's a hissy fit. The automated way that your brain throws a hissy fit is to tell you that everything has gone terribly wrong. It's just how we work. So my list here is intended to give you something that's a counterpoint to that message that everything has gone completely wrong. That message, wrong, wrong, this is all wrong, this is all going horribly wrong, is the default it was the default of my brain in the early months that I was a mother. And I think it's the default for a lot of new moms. Why do I think that? Because that's what I see everywhere I look when I go to do research about people who are new moms, gain different perspectives, learn about what my clients are really struggling with. That's what I see. I see one mother after another who's exactly where I was not very long ago. New baby, overjoyed about the baby, miserable about everything else, thoroughly miserable, and unable to really articulate why she's miserable, except to say, I became a mom and everything fell apart. Because that's what your brain thinks. Your brain is not correct. I'm here to tell you that was a huge relief to me when I found that out. All my brain was doing was reacting to the massive change of becoming a mom in the only way that my brain at the time knew how. So here's my 40 reasons. Any one of these you can take and internalize and help yourself really sink into a positive thought about new motherhood. One positive thought can invite your brain to find the next positive thought, and then maybe another one, and then maybe another one. When your brain is looking at the negative thoughts, it's looking at the change, it's seeing, problems. It's exhausted. Your brain is exhausted. All your brain is paying attention to are the things that are going wrong. So here we are, looking at the positives, looking at 40 reasons to love being an over 40 new mom. I think February is also an excellent time to do this. Of course, February, Valentine's Day. Love is on everybody's mind anyway. I also have had a thought in the past that February was challenging for me, right? That sort of tail end of winter. It happens to be snowing at my house right this minute. Here is February 28th and it's snowing. So I kind of relished the opportunity to talk about reasons to love being an over 40 new mom and wear pink every Friday. So anyway, back to our list. We left off, we're at number 30. My reason number 30 to love being an over 40 new mom is that the baby arrives very quickly. You then spend months becoming a mother. So this is an interesting one, and it plays into what I was talking about a moment ago. The the pregnancy is its own fascinating phase of life. It's just, and I do coach over 40 women who are pregnant with their first child. Those are part of who I coach. Pardon me, my nose itches. I had to kick the cat out of the room before I could start talking to all of you. And there was a protest from the cat, so I have cat hair flying around. But the pregnancy as this phase where everything is very prescriptive. It's week 22. So the baby is this big, and these are the things that are happening in your body. It's week 32. This is how big the baby is. This is what's happening in your body, right? There's this sort of march of information and doctor's appointments and all these things that you go through when you're pregnant. It's actually very well laid out. It was for me, right? Very well laid out. There were actually, what to expect when you're expecting and all these resources. And I had signed up for emails. I was getting like emails every day from one of the groups that, tells you what's going on and kind of sort of walks you through the different phases of your pregnancy. So you've got this very defined roadmap, between sort of what's out there for the public about pregnancy and then what's going on with your doctor. And then the baby arrives. And, I was in the hospital for a little while, a couple days, and then they sent me home. And it's like, okay, I have a baby. Here's my baby. Like technically in that, in that very short span of time, you become a mom, right? You have a baby. It took me months to actually figure out how to mother. And it's fascinating, right? Like I said, it goes back to what I was talking about a few moments ago. This sort of series of changes that are happening because the baby arrived that you then have to adjust to. So baby arrives, and then motherhood kind of came upon me in different phases over a series of months and going on for really a year and a half. And that is the window of people who I coach. I coach people who are pregnant with their first child and then have a baby who's under 18 months old. Because I that entire 18-month period to me felt like I was figuring out how to be a mom. I was figuring out how to be a mom. And so the interesting thing though was in the, baby is born and here's the baby and now I'm taking care of a baby. And so to my brain, to the people in my life, right, to the outside world, I had become a mother. Here we are. You, baby, you're the mother. But inside my own mind and body, that transition I now recognize took a whole lot longer. And I didn't know that. Why do I tell you this? That it's a really good reason to love being an over 40 new mom is because if you internalize this thought that I'm, urging you to borrow, that, you are going to spend months becoming a mother, if you give yourself that adjustment time and some grace, right? Like give yourself some grace to make that adjustment, because didn't, I just didn't, nobody told me this, right? Like I didn't appreciate what I was in for. Or if anybody told it to me, it didn't sink in any kind of way that was meaningful or useful to me. I, you know, my words today are intended to sink into you and to be meaningful and useful to you. Give yourself time, give yourself grace, let yourself change and, have as much compassion for yourself as you can find. Just because the baby arrives, that's supposed to be the big deal. And it is, right? That 9 months of pregnancy, you're working up to the big deal of having the baby. And then you have the baby, and it's a big deal. The rest of it is an equally big deal. And I just don't think that we are prepared for that. And I want this to be a tool that you can put to your own best use. So it's going to take you months, and that's okay. Nothing has gone wrong. All these changes, like it was sort of like waves at the beach, right? Like just one, I would get my arms around one change and then another would come and then another would come and then another would come. And, it's like a wave that you're not ready for knocks you over. You might be at the beach, but you're still flat on your ass with salt water going up your nose. So let's kind of take a deep breath, right? And know that those waves of change are coming. Tell yourself that they're coming. Tell yourself that you're gonna be compassionate with yourself as they do come. And then you're not flat on your ass with salt water up your nose. Maybe you're just kind of able to roll with the waves a lot more gracefully. That's what I wish for all of you. That was not the case for me. I wish that for all of you. Reason number 31. I love this reason. It's 2020. You get to do motherhood on your terms, period. Bold statement. That's not what society tells us. Society tells us there are right ways to mother and wrong ways to mother. And that if, you are over 40, highly suspect. I talked about this in the past. Now, the media has a lot of things to say about over 40 motherhood. You can take that in if you want to. I don't suggest Googling it if you're currently pregnant or if you have a tiny baby and you haven't Googled it yet. Don't bother. I think it's all totally fine, right? It's totally fine for other people to have opinions about what over 40 motherhood is or what it should look like or, how we ought to be doing things. I invite you to believe that none of it is relevant to you. Absolutely none of it. That you get to do this on your terms, you get to do this your way. And as I have covered in past weeks, that you are an over 40 new mom, you earn the money for your family, and you're a badass. Period. Number 32. I love this one. Over 40 moms benefit from the growing awareness of the term matrescence, which is a term that rhymes with adolescence. Matrescence is the process of becoming a mother. Those physical, psychological, and emotional changes you go through after the birth of your child. I think I got this from the Oxford Dictionary online. And there are some articles, and if you're going to Google something, Google matrescence. It is spelled Matrescence, matrescence. So this goes back to what we were discussing in number 30. You spend months becoming a mother. So matrescence is interesting. It's actually an anthropological term. It's not really a medical term. And adolescence is a medical term, right? That there is a definition of the period of time where somebody's going from child to adult, and that is adolescence. There is also a period of time where somebody goes from not a mother to mother. Matrescence. Profound changes, physical, emotional, mental, lifestyle, career, relationships, you name it, you name it. And there's a profound period of adjustment. Knowing about this term empowers us because it gives us a framework to put all of the changes, like what is happening to me? Why am I on my ass with salt water up my nose? Because I'm in matrescence. It is a way to frame the discussion that I have with my clients and that I'm having with all of you right now about what life is for somebody who has a baby and then goes through the next, year or 18 months figuring out motherhood. So your body is changing in tremendous and profound ways. Your life is changing in tremendous and profound ways. Emotionally, you're going through a lot. It is a thing. It is a phase of development of your life that if you have chosen to have a baby, that's what you're going through. It's fascinating that we didn't have a cultural or societal term for this in the past. It's fascinating that when I had my baby, I had no sort of collective awareness of that I would go through anything like this. I had, some knowledge about the signs of postpartum depression, right? Like I knew that I was supposed to be watching out for certain things. I had some awareness about the baby blues, right? That there was this couple of days and then you'd have a hormone cliff that you would go off. Like I sort of had awareness of some of that. I think I got that from, we worked with a doula. I think the doula is the person who really clued me in about this. So, okay, right. So that happened. Like the definitely, hormones bottomed out, baby blues, absolutely. Like screen at the doctor's office for the questions about postpartum depression. And, I had been paying attention to myself. So I was able to, have that conversation. But beyond that it was like, okay, well, you're fine. Good luck. See ya if you get pregnant again. It's just sort of shuffled out the door, and no appreciation for or framework for everything that happened, right? Like after that last doctor's visit, where they essentially are like, okay, well, you don't have postpartum depression. Here's some birth control pills, and then, see you later. It's like, what? There's this entire other phase of this period of matrescence, which is all encompassing. I found it to be all encompassing. I approach my clients as if it's all encompassing. Again, I think there are some people who go through this very quickly and easily and without a lot of grief. And I wish those people all the best. Truly and honestly, that's fantastic. If you are watching this, I am assuming that you are struggling in some way or multiple ways. I look back and I struggled on all of these things, right? Physical, emotional, mental, all of it. I struggled. So, growing awareness of the term matrescence, and that it gives us all a new framework for discussing what's going on with us and a way to talk about it with each other, a way to talk about it with other people. That's also, I think, a tremendous relief, right? To be able to say to the people in your life, I think I'm going through something profound, and here's what here's what's happening. And I understand that this is a normal part of this phase called matrescence. So here we are, right? And sort of reset your expectations of yourself, be able to find compassion. My lack of knowledge about this phase and what it meant for me was part of, I think, where I failed to have compassion for myself. I I thought at the time that it wasn't supposed to be as hard as it was. I think that matrescence as a term and as something, a phase of life we can be aware of, does help us have some things we can talk about for if a person is struggling. This is the framework that we can talk about it. I I think that's super helpful. So, number 33, over 40 moms know themselves. They have solid self identities and more than 40 years of life experience to draw from as they become mothers. These are huge assets. I believe this to my core. I think that a mother who is over the age of 40 has lived some life. She has done some stuff. She's got, in the case of my clients who are the family breadwinner, they usually have amazing careers full of successes and skill sets. These are all assets that you can leverage for yourself as you become a mom. The, the fascinating thing is my clients are usually leveraging their skills as they enter motherhood on behalf of other people. That was what I was doing. Work, friendships, family, right? Of sort of leveraging all these skills that I had acquired in my life and all of my life experience for the benefit of other people. I think that over 40 new moms get to instead ask themselves, what can I do to benefit myself? What experiences do I have to draw on that I can put to my own good use right now? You just make yourself, I work in ways that I have clients. So that's a framework that I use to think about my professional life. Imagine if I had thought about myself that way. Like, I become my own client. I'm problem solving for myself here during my matrescence. Radical. I didn't think about it that way, right? I would do so so that's one of the things that I can offer to my clients is the ability to reframe what am I a rock star at and how do I put that to my own best use here during the early months of my motherhood. It's a mental hack. It works. It totally works. Um Number 34. These just get to be, I just love these more and more the more I read them. Number 34. Over 40 moms are over what other people think. There are a lot of opinions out there about how to be a mom. None of them are relevant to you, not from your friends, your family, or anyone else. Seriously. I touched on some of this a few moments ago, but take a moment here to drive this one back home that, you know, other people's opinions are just that. They're other people's opinions. I kind of have a catchphrase that I like to offer to people. I heard I heard somebody say this on a podcast. It might have been Gwyneth Paltrow, but she said that one of the things that she offered to new moms was the thought, mother knows best. And I love that thought. I didn't think that in the early time of my motherhood. Again, my brain was freaking out. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. The changes were coming so rapidly. I had no idea, how to keep up, right? Like I said, I was on the beach, flat on my ass with salt water up my nose. So if I had had the belief, mother knows best, and I'm the mother, right? Like I do know best. I think that would have been really helpful. Instead, I was sort of some of the waves that were knocking me down were other people's opinions. This was before I found coaching. This was before I found uh, the work that I do on myself and the work that I help my clients do. So I think when my clients come to me, a lot of them are in a position where they think that the opinions of other people are a huge problem for them. It's normal, right? That's normal, unless you've been exposed to, you know, thought work or coaching in the past. I think it's normal to put a lot of stake in other people's opinions about what you're doing, about you as a person, you as a mom. So it's also so interesting. And I'm going to get more into this in the future. But if you are over 40 and you are having a baby now, your mother had you in the late 1970s. Your grandmother was mothering, you know, in the 40s, right? Maybe the 50s, depending on, the spread of your family's generations. Society between you as a mom right now versus mothering in the late 1970s, it's so interesting. It's so interesting to me that we're still paying attention to anything that anybody in a prior generation had to say about mothering. And there's a constant here, right? There is a mom and there is a baby. Everything else has changed. Absolutely everything. Technology, science, the understanding of the bonds between mother and baby, right? Like everything that was present for my mother when she was mothering me, it's like ancient history at this point. It completely there's not a single aspect of it that hasn't been overcome. And I think for working moms, the difference between workplace, like your professional experience in the workplace is as radically different as it was, so you're a mom and, the family breadwinner. Both of those roles, I think, are completely different than they were during prior generations. So, but it's human nature to take the opinions of other people as important. Our brains want us to do that. Our brains think that it's really important. We have a whole portfolio of neurotransmitters in our heads that tell us that it's really important what other people think about what we're doing. So, when I describe myself as being somebody who was really affected by the opinions of other people in the earliest phase of after having had a baby, that was normal. I was just normal. I just had a brain that was telling me that it was really important what other people thought of me. My job here is to offer you some relief from that if that's currently where you are. So I invite you, if part of what you're struggling with is, you know, other people's opinions, whether they're things that you assume other people are thinking about you or things that other people have said or done or told you or, your mother-in-law, whatever the case may be, number 34 on my list, you are allowed to be over what other people think. And you really are allowed to go to the place where mother knows best, and that's you. Is a huge relief to be found there. And I don't suggest this that you're in any way sort of rejecting the people in your life. Like this thought is there's an offense and a defense to that thought. And where I suggest that it's most useful to you is not in the pushing away of other people, right? Like you're other people are full of opinions and that's fine, but to sort of relax into your own certainty. And mother knows best, right? Like there's a certainty there that's very much empowering to us without pushing other people away, rejecting other people's opinions, or, putting you into conflict with some of your loved ones. So that's where I want you to go there. And if you have questions or comments about this, you can always just send me a message. But it's what I'm describing to you is a place that for you can be very peaceful, right? Mother knows best. Somewhere in the center of your being, sort of going into a space where you're in alignment with yourself as a mom, and the rest of the world is just going about its business, and that's okay. Like from your mother knows best place of alignment, you're really empowered and you are able to discern what you want to be doing as a mom, the opinions of other people, and take all that in and make yourself a plan for action. That's usually where other people's opinions come into play, right? Is something you're doing or not doing or should be doing, or if only I were doing whatever, making my own baby food and stockpiling it in the freezer, whatever the case may be. That's where mother knows best. I again there's some peace to be found there for yourself. Number 35, over 40 moms are problem solvers. We make it work. I especially think this is true for moms who are breadwinners. We make it work because that's what we do, right? We are working moms. We're very, very highly skilled in our professions. like I was talking about a few minutes ago, those assets, you leverage those assets in your own favor. You get to solve a lot of problems when they arise for you. Number 36, closely related, over 40 moms are solution finders. Every one of us faces challenges as we integrate motherhood into our existing career and we figure it out no matter what. Another one that's really empowering as that integration takes place, right? Motherhood and your career coming together. What's the common denominator there? Us, right? Like me in my case, you in your case. We are the common denominator, and we are the ones who make it work. This is problem solving and solution finding. Um, and the right the where this really comes together for people and where I see my clients struggle is, and where I struggled is, motherhood, baby arrives, here's motherhood, and motherhood shifts everything. It shifted everything in my world, literally a complete shift. And I've talked about this on some earlier videos, but the shift for me was so profound that I really had to, whereas other things in life, my career was always sort of the dominant factor. Suddenly, motherhood became the dominant factor in my life. And then you're sort of putting career back together with this newest role as mom. So it's so empowering to be able to do it, but it doesn't come naturally. It didn't come naturally for me. And I think it doesn't come naturally for a lot of my clients. That's where I come in, is helping you make that integration in a way where you don't suffer and where you're often what I was doing, right, was the baby and the career were in tension with each other. They were just constantly kind of rubbing up against each other, friction, conflict. Um, I was creating all of this, mind you, but the taking it and going like this and making them work together and keeping you in control and empowered and getting you what you need along the way as you make all that happen, that's what I offer to people. Um, Number 37, over 40 moms get to decide that compromise is optional. My clients are the family breadwinner and new moms at the same time. They are amazing people who do amazing things at home and at work. And, I do not lead people. I, let me back up. I do not lead people through some superwoman, tough mutter race, right? This is not how to be an over 40 mom in a way that puts as much on your shoulders as possible because we're strong and we can do it, right? That's not what I advocate. What I advocate is that because you're an over 40 new mom and because you're a family breadwinner, you can structure your world in such a way to do both. And compromise is optional. You are allowed to be exactly the mom and exactly the career woman that you want to be. So why was I in such conflict during the early months of my motherhood? Is because I thought at the time that attention to one, attention to baby, for instance, took away from career, or attention to career took away from the baby, right? And so that's where the conflict, the tug of war, the tension came from. Over time, I have come to believe, and this is how I work with my clients, that the points of friction can be taken away, right? That you can have a life without compromise where you become exactly who you want to be. I just, at the time that in the early parts of my motherhood, I didn't know it was possible. I approach my work with my clients that is possible. And, I work on the assumption that that's where my clients want to be going, right? Because they are the family breadwinner, that their income is important to the family's function. And so they want to be going in a direction where they, where, my clients are becoming, they are working to become both at the same time, the rock star family breadwinner and the rock star mom simultaneously. So compromise is optional. That's not what our brains tell us. And it's really not what society tells us either. It's part of why I think my work with people is so important. Um, we don't get very encouraging messages from the outside world about what those possibilities are. So, for all of you, compromise is optional, and it doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It does not. The way that I work, that is absolutely not an option. Grinding ourselves into paste, trying to achieve some crazy superwoman perfection, that doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do your baby any good, and it doesn't do your career any good. But a lot of times we just don't know any different. So we can't come up with the way forward because we're, new baby, career. We're trying to make it work, but most of the time what we're doing is this. That's where I come in. And in this, right, something has to give. In the situation where there is conflict, in the situation where there's tension between the two, something has to give. That's where I was, right? That's where I was in this, something's got to give, something's got to give. Thankfully, I just kept on solution finding and problem solving my way out the other side. I help my clients do that much more quickly. For people who come and work with me, we endeavor to skip this entirely. Let me be really clear. If you're already doing this, I can, get you, I can get you through that. But for people who want to work with me, before the baby's born or very, very early on, we can skip this entirely. Totally up to you. Number 38, over 40 moms get to question everything from a place of curiosity and capability. What can motherhood bring to you that you've never had before? What can you now bring to your life and career that was unavailable to you prior to motherhood? So number 38 builds on number 37. If you're doing this, you're not thinking about your capabilities. You're just trying to survive, right? Like you're in things are in conflict. You cannot, I couldn't. I felt as if I couldn't get my head above water at the time. When we're able to work together to get to this point where like things are meshing you're showing up how you want to be at work, you're showing up how you want to be as a mom, and we're in this state, then we can undertake a phase of work together that is okay, right? What am I really capable of? I found that motherhood unlocked for me a series of capabilities, curiosity, creativity, and really just a whole new level of depth for me that I never knew existed. Um, and I think that that can be scary. It's not necessarily a welcome thing, but uh, it's worth exploring, right? There are some questions there that we can ask that are really fascinating, especially if you'd sort of gotten to a point in your career where you were really happy, right? And like things are rocking and rolling. And then there's an interesting phenomenon where when motherhood comes along, you suddenly start to look for bigger challenges. You start to look for the next steps, right? Like maybe that place where you had been comfortable prior to becoming a mom is no longer so comfortable. You might feel some constriction that's new. That's why I say, that it's possible that you've got some capabilities that are unlocking for you that can present as its own form of conflict. But, working with a coach, you can really examine some of that from that place of curiosity. Um, Number 39, over 40 moms are capable of much more than society gives them credit for. They can fly in the face of conventional wisdom that motherhood equals a downgrade, both personally and professionally. Flying in the face of that particular conventional wisdom is a good thing. I think that that conventional wisdom is garbage. And I had that conventional wisdom in the early months of my motherhood. Like, oh, everybody said I would struggle. Everybody said that I would have problems. Everybody said, I don't know, you Google over 40 new mom, you can see there I am too old for this. That conventional wisdom does not have to be true for you. I went through the process of making it false for me. I took that conventional wisdom and I kicked its ass. And it was the most fun thing I've ever done. Literally, becoming an over 40 new mom has been life changing for me in ways that I had no idea were possible. And that is what I now offer to my clients. Finally, number 40. More than any other time in your life, you get to unapologetically prioritize yourself during your adjustment to motherhood. Find the resources that you need, get the help that you need. Love yourself hard. You have got this. And you have got it. I believe in you. I believe in you completely. But get the resources that you need, whatever that looks like. If you had your baby and you think your hormones have tanked and the doctor that you saw is not, helping you, keep on looking for resources, right? So I was kind of explaining away a lot of stuff like, oh, well, I had a baby. So of course I'm exhausted. I had a baby. So, of course this and that and the other is happening to me. Don't explain these things away. Become unapologetically self-centered here. Um, this is for some people, they have a problem that's so acute that they do go about solving it, right? Like they have to, because things get so bad that they, have to go out and find a solution, right? Like they're experiencing some repercussion of motherhood that's pretty dire. But for me and for most other people, it is what I spoke about. It's that downgrade, and that, I was pregnant and now I'm not. And, I'm exhausted and my hormones tanked. And I have all these other changes that are going on that I think are for the worse. But my expectation was that they would be that way. I expected things to get worse. I expected to feel bad. I expected to be tired. I expected to struggle. I expected this because it's the conventional wisdom. Unapologetically get yourself the help that you need. Get yourself the resources that you need. Get yourself the education that you need. Hire the professionals that you need. Don't accept these downgrades. Don't accept them like they're your, okay, well, this is motherhood. Bullshit. Total bullshit. Don't accept it unapologetically. Get what you need. If that is a doctor who will listen to you, maybe somebody who's not traditional medicine, but functional medicine. If it's a hormone test that's not being offered, but that you think you need, if it's a dietitian, if it's somebody like me who's a mindset coach, if it's a baby nurse who can come in for 6 or 8 hours a night so that you can get the sleep that you need, whatever it is, give it to yourself. You deserve it. Your baby deserves it. And this is another one of those places where the opinions of other people, I think, can really have a lot of sway for us. Don't even ask anybody else's opinion. Just go hire the nurse. If you have family members who have volunteered to come over, you're allowed to tell them no and hire a nurse. If the nurse is going to be more helpful to you. I do have a theory. I like this theory a lot. I I borrowed this from an old boss that I had, and his theory was you can always fire staff. And I love it because, you might have people in your life who are volunteering to do this and that and the other. So, okay, a family member or a friend, that's some of those people are going to be great. Some of those people are going to be angels from heaven who are so helpful to you. Others are going to eat all your food and leave your house a mess and not help you at all. Unapologetically make those decisions for yourself. And borrow my thought. You can always fire staff, right? Like hiring a baby nurse rather than having a family member. There's some value, I think, in that commercial transaction between you as the client and a paid professional. Go to the doctor and say, give me a hormone panel. Like I genuinely want a test that you haven't offered to me, but I want it. Or, go see a functional medicine provider. If you suspect that something is off, trust your instinct. Unapologetically trust your instinct. And if other people are telling you, this is just normal, this is just how it is for new moms, you're supposed to feel terrible. That's optional. That's optional. Unapologetically give yourself what you need. When you're doing that, it is the functional equivalent of putting on your oxygen mask first. You and your baby need for you to be thriving. And if that is available to you, don't deny yourself of that opportunity, whatever that looks like for you. I appreciate you tuning in to listen to part of my 40 reasons to love being an over 40 new mom. I believe so strongly in this. I believe so strongly in you. Again, my name is Heather Hennessy. My company is Heather Hennessy Life Coaching. And if I can be a help to you in any way, please visit my website, heatherhennessy.com. And there's a button you can click on there to explore how we might work together. I wish you all the best. Thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to being in touch again soon. Take care.